Welcome to Yeshiva Daf Shir sponsor Nishma Sam Yakushon Lea Basitzchok. We're holding Basra Daf Kuf Nun Base. We're starting at the top of the Amud. Says the Gemara, Itmar Maddas Shchimira Shekosu Bo Kinyan. Yal Maddas Shchira that has a Kinyan with it, with the Maddas Shchimira. So you have over here a machlekes. What's going to be in that case? Now, there's a very big machlekes we're showing you. What exactly is the case over here? It's important to see the Rashbam. The Rashbam says, the first Rashbam in the Talmud. So we're talking about like this. Al Korchacho, right away after he says the Ramatchel, the end of the first line, says Al Korchacho bekoisev kol nechoso pligi Rav Yishmael. We're talking that Shchimah is giving all his nechosim. Dimad Shchimah b'miktzah shekosu b'kinyon pligi be'edyo havol emimah the Shchimah b'miktzas. And we talk about the Shchimah b'miktzas, a partial gift. They should have said it. Because so the Rashbam brings a few riots, and he goes on to say more and more, and I can read the whole thing. So we talk about, says the Rashbam because of kol nechos. So although we know that usually a Shchimah gives everything, he could change his mind, but the shaila is what happens when you have a kinyan as well. Does the kinyan make it less? That's really the shaila over here. The Tosfos disagrees. The Tosfos learns, if you want to just see the Losha Tosfos, in this, in Amud Aleph, towards there, in the end of the Amud, the last 5 lines of Tosfos. Tosfos says, V'niri li lefarish, T'mayi b'shtar dafka. First of all, talk about shtar. This is the second part I want to get through. That we'll get to in a moment. Sorry, I'll go back up a little bit, beginning of Tosfos. In the 4th line of Tosfos, it says, 5th line, Rivam, he disagrees. Our Mishnah that says, if you're Mishayir, what are you talking about? The Rav, why have a good, they should not work. And I talk about a Kinyan, can save the Ktani lo Yishir Kalakoshu. So the Rashbam and the Tosfos argue, what is the case of that we're talking about in the Gemara? The Rashbam learns we talk about he gave everything and he added a kinyan. Tosfos says if he gave everything, he added a kinyan, the kinyan won't make any difference. It won't make any difference. And therefore Tosfos want to say, if we're talking about he didn't give everything, he gave only partial. So the Tosfos do partial. That's the first machlekes. So again, he gave a kinyan, written a kinyan over there. What does it mean, kasu b'kinyan? Let's look at the second Rashbam. The Rashbam says, shekasu b'kinyan, hu adinim ein kasu kinyan b'toich hashtar. Even if it's not written, meaning he did a kinyan. Kinyan is lav da'ak because he wrote the kinyan. Hu afilu ein kat shtar klal, says the Rashbam. And the shchimah shizkir tzavo shchimah k'shechili kol nechosov, v'gam mehin k'noi su b'kinyan tzunu kal matana. He did a kinyan. The Tosfos says, that's the Tosfos wanted to say before, end of the Amud, the last 5 lines, nearly the fast to Rabbi Shtar Davka. I had a time of the Rav, so Shakach Kosov Lakim to Hashtar, why do you write in the Shtar? Lo Lume Koichi Yoise. Shavim Kon Nechosim Amadim Nechosim, but Shakazim to Hashtar, Shmuel Sova the Shtar Zayin El Greg Koichi. So, we have two Machlikisim, and there's a lot to talk about, but just to mention the concepts, that according to Rashbam, talking about he wrote it's everything, and he did a kinyan. That's what we're discussing. According to the Rivan, he didn't write everything, he did a kinyan. And the Riyam Tosfos says he wrote in a shtar, and that's why the shtar makes it stronger. You may know what? Let's see the Gemara. Either, whatever way you understand according to the Rishonim, but something here was reinforcing the matana. That you not only give Matas Shchimah, he's giving also a kinyan. Meaning he gave the power, a double power. Not only is it Matas Shchimah, but also a kinyan. We'll see in a moment what's the second power that he has. Lo yadano ma'edun bo. Right? We don't know what it is. I don't know which karach it is, and therefore you have to go Basra Chazok. What is it? He has the power of Bori and Shchimra. He can't change his mind. Like a Bori who gives a gift, he can't change his mind. even though he did as a shchimra, even though he gave his whole thing, according to the Rashbam. Usually you cannot transfer a loan from one to another unless you do a ma'amad shloshta. Unless you have all three together. But by shchimra you could do that. And this is the nikud over here. He's going to be able to transfer it because it's a shchimra giving it. So he has the power to all three. I don't know what he meant. Maybe he's taking away the koyach of the shchimra and he's making it into a shtar power. He wants it to be with the shtar, and the shtar was not written until later, so if the shtar is not chal after misa, it doesn't work. If you look at the Rashbam says, "Lo yadan ma'edun bozo to Rashbam Shmuel, dimul kana klal afilu yemes." Maybe it doesn't get anything. The kevan deha v'koni be'amir be'alm v'tzavos shchimra. He could have done a regular tzavos shchimra. Or even like a shir b'nechosim. Lama litu la'knu b'sno. Why is he giving a kinyan? He can make the mimah me'ader odar. Maybe he changed his mind. Ve'okar v'mei koyach mata shchimra. He so way the koyach mata shchimra. Ve'eino t'sheikim be'amir be'alm v'kinyan sudar. Once he do a regular kinyan. Uma u'makro lo v'kinyan mata shchimra u'makro lo ydainu la'achem miso. Ve'ishtar la'achem miso elu kinyan kol mechayim. Okay, now the Rashbam himself has a problem over here because the Gemara says you ain't shtar lachamis. According to the Rashbam, we're not talking about a shtar. That was the sheet of the Tosis that we're talking about a shtar. Rashbam means we're not talking about a shtar. So according to the Rashbam, the shtar is lav davka. It's hard to say it. According to the Rashbam, it's lav davka shtar. But according to the Tosis in Morgish Rak, that's what it says. That's what Tosis says. The last line of Tosis in this Amud, Tosis says. That's the Gulosh of the Gemara. And because this, that we're talking about the shtar means it's chal only after Misa. You want the shtar to work after Misa. So anyway, Shmuel says, once you did a kinyan, you took away the power of the Shkavan Shkimra. So maybe it doesn't work, only after Misa. So the more the Rami, the Rav, the Shmuel, the Shmuel. There's a steer, there's a contradiction. Rav and Shmuel. The Sholach Rabin Shmei de Revo. Rabin said, in the name of Ravu, every yadi, you should know. Shesholach Abelazar legoylo mishum Rabbeinu. Abelazar sent to the goylo, and the name of Rabbeinu, Pasha's Rav. Shchimra shoma kisu vitnu mon leploni v'meis. You have a shchimra who writes, write and give him one leploni, and then he died. And koysim and oistim. You don't give it to him. Shema logam alaknes yel b'shtar. Here it's regular shtar. He said to write it. He wanted to write the shtar, but shtar like Misa, you can't write the shtar after Misa. And it's not on the Shchimra anymore. That's rough. Shmuel says you do right. So meaning, do I assume that when a person is writing a shtar, is coming to diminish the Mata Shchimra, and do it only with a shtar, or he's not coming to diminish the Mata Shchimra? Rav says it's coming to diminish it. According to Shmuel, it's not coming to diminish it. The Chorah Testira, to what we learned before in the Sugya, the Rav holds, if you do a kinyan, you're doing double. And Shmuel says you come to diminish. So the Gemara, Kasha the Rav, Kasha the Shmuel, the Shmuel. So the Rav, the Kasha. Had the Kolminei, had the Kolminei. Rav is talking, according to the Rashbam, only when you have a kinyan, you say you're reinforcing it and making it stronger. If I don't have a kinyan, I don't say that. Even though it's written in the shtar. If there's no kinyan, it's a regular. So then, Henechanami. Maybe as a kinyan, you're saying you're reinforcing what he already has. But if you don't have a kinyan, so then Henechanami can be the shtar to me. So then you lose the power. The Shmuel Lakasho, Shmuel was also that question. We're talking here that he's miyapes koichu. When he wrote the shtar, he says, he's clearly stated, this shtar will be a yipukoyach, a strength, a stronger thing. And then it means I'm still continuing to have the shkimra plus a shtar. The Rav will disagree with that. As they look at Lashon Rashbam, last Rashbam the Amud, miyapes koichu til kaman v'kanin yaminei moisim v'nabdo, adding a Lashon, yitu Lashon lepus koichu. So he added on the Lashon. So that's what Shmuel said. When you say that's extra Lashon, you mean to have both powers. But if you're not, so maybe he's taking away the power of Shchimra. So when Yosef Nachman Beitzuk Achoyer de Rova. So Nachman Beitzuk is sitting behind Rova. Yosef Rova Kamed Rab Nachman. So here we have three people here, right? You have Nachman Beitzuk sitting in the back, behind Rova. And Rova is sitting in front of Rab Nachman. Kabo Amine. So he asked the following question. Miyama Shmuel Shema Lo Gemara La Knois Yel B'Shtar Bein Shalach Emiso. That Shmuel say in our first case that maybe he didn't meant to do shtar, not to have a shtar, but he did a kinyan, and he wants to do it only after Misa and not Shchimira. Do you say that? He wrote as nechasa to everybody else. Even though he did a kinyan. So, according to what we learned in the beginning of the Talmud, when you do a kinyan, you're diminishing amount of shchimira. He says no. So according to Shmuel, he's not sure what it is. If he changed, he got up, he can change his mind, like a shchimira. Why? When the Kudun base on base, be a dua shlei kinyan elamachmas miso. Right? In other words, it's a kinyan that's the dome because of miso, and therefore he can change his mind. Look at Lo Shorosh Bam. Ika choizer boy. Mashra over here, how you mace, konem mikalam matana. If you die, you are kohen. If you learn minute shevel l'gumay l'knois el b'shtar v'ishtar l'achem, you don't say it won't work. The kasha the Shmuel domer le'adana ma'idun bo ma'adashkimush kozu kinyon. In other words, Shmuel learns if you have a kinyan, so then it's takes away the power of shchimira, and you're not able to give it as a gift. And here in this case, you have a kinyan, and Shmuel holds you could give it as a gift. How do you understand it? Says the Gemara, "Ve'ach v'lei biyodei v'ishtik." Right. So he brought this question, Stira and Shmuel, to Rav Nachman, and he showed him some sign in his hand. The Rambam says either he showed him a sign that he knows an answer, or the sign was the answer. As we'll see in the morning, the sign was the answer. So he was quiet. Rav Nachman did not say more. Kikam. So Rav Nachman was the Rebbe. So Rav asked the question. Rav Nachman made some sign and left. Rav Nachman is behind Rav. So he tells Rav, what exactly did he show you? Then we're talking about the did you koyach. Then Shmuel agrees that it does work as a shchimra. What's the case of miyapes koyach? Amar Chizdo, he says the words or write the words. The kanino minei moisiva madadado. I'm doing a kinyan in addition to the matano. Then Shmuel says it's a matashchimra plus a kinyan. And Tosis will and Rav will say that by a kinyan you're right, even without writing it down, according to the Rashbam. If you did write a kinyan, so then you don't say that. Even though you have a shtar, you assume everything is happening later. But here Rav Shmuel will agree that you have both powers and it is a matashchimra. Says the more now the following. Pshito kosov lezeh and kosov lezeh. He wrote gave a matashchimra out to one and then to another. So I knew the chiyos of Dimi Homar, the Yaski, Mirat, tells the Yaski. Even before the Yatki means, Dote, the make of Kai, which means a Losha, that's a Matashchimra. One Matashchimra cancels the other Matashchimra. Give to one, give to the other, it cancels, the second one cancels the first. But, Kosov Ezekul Lezeh, the Kosov Ezekul Lezeh. He wrote the shtar and he did a zikui. What's a zikui? So here we have again Mechlikas Rishonim, where the Rashbam learns the zikui means that he actually gave him the shtar. Okay, give him the shtar. Right? He was moister to it. The Rashbam says, so he wrote a shtar and he gave it to him. So according to this, because he's giving it to him, he's doing more than just giving a shtar to somebody. He's actually giving him the shtar in his hand. So I mean that he can't change his mind. The Tosis learns that what is Zika boy? Meaning that he was mizak el acher. Meaning he wrote it, and then he did a special kinyan with a third party to be market to this person. So in other words, he's reinforcing this maton. So now, what happens? Because of Zika he did it to two people. Rabbi says once he did as he reinforced the kinyan of the first, it's over. He can't give it to somebody else. Shmuel says no, you still give it to the second one. Once you give a gift to one, you can't give it to somebody else. It's still on the shchimra. Says the Gemara, remember the end of Amud Aleph, the Gemara spoke about Matashchimra. Do you say that it's still a Matashchimra? You say it's a Matasbari, right? Because Rav said that once you have a shtar, right, that we said, meaning we mentioned the kinyan. So we have matashchim shekasu b'kinyan. Rav Omar, meaning I said the end of Amud Aleph. I'm mistaken. Beginning of Amud Aleph. Well, in the beginning, though, we said that they started the sugya with. What do we start with? The Rav says, given the power of Matas Bari and Matas Shkira. And Shmuel says, no, I don't know what to do with it. Right? So the Chur Rav there is such a thing, and Shmuel, we see the Rav and Shmuel already said this concept. So the Gemara, by Rav, by the case of, in the case that he did that Maisa Kinyan, so then I would say that's when he empowered it. According to the Rashba, what does it mean there was no Kinyan, he just gave him the shtar. According to Taises, he did a Kinyan with a third party, not with this guy himself. So therefore, when you the Shmuel, that now it does have a din matashkira. Shmuel, in the second case, Shmuel said because there was no Kinyan. Rather we have a Kinyan, so then he does empower him. So that's why he's saying it's the same thing. Right? That's what he's saying. Okay. So the Gemara brought another machlekes. When you have a zikui le'echad and not the other. In other words, do I say that he's empowering the first to making it stronger? Or am I saying that he's not? It stays where it is. Shmuel, the little problem is Shmuel said because so here we don't have that case. We don't have the problem Shmuel and Bashtar, because that so you don't say there's no shtar lachamiso. As the Rashbam says that so, but Shmuel says the sheni is kind. In other words, when even though he did something more, he's still considered to be like a regular shechina, and the second one is the one that takes it. And Rav says once you empower it, he makes it like a matas bari. You can't change your mind, similar to what we said in Amud Aleph. So the more just said we didn't know the same thing. The more compares it, and there's what they're talking about. Right, it's not exactly the same thing. Says the more the following now. Says the more besura madnuachi. Besura they said what we just said. But this so madnuachi. What are we talking about? So Rishbam here brings two explanations. If you look at the Rishbam, the last Rishbam, it's a little long, I can say the whole thing. The Rishbam says like this. Going back to the beginning. We started the sugi with. And now it's Surah, they want to come and change it. Right? So the Rashban doesn't like that, and the Rashban, therefore, we're not going to go down to the whole Darius, so we're talking about a different case. What's the case? Look at the end of the Rashban. The Rashban says, we're talking about the last case. When you do a zikui, you reinforce the Kinyan. So we have Rav said that it's still he's giving it to the first more than the second, and Shmuel said no. So that says the Gemara, the sur madnach, that's a sur learned. But this so madnach. Different story. They sent from the house of Rav to Shmuel. Yilamdein Rabbeinu, Rebbe teach us. Shchimra shekol shekosa kol nechosam lachem v'konu miyodri. He wrote the chosam to others, and he did a kinyan. Mahu shalach lehu ein achar kinyan klum. After kinyan, everything is over. Look at the Rashbam in the end. The Chet Pir Shvach, in the last few lines of the Rashbam in the Samut. Vesur Madnachi, the Pluk to Rav Shmuel, the cost of Ezekiel, the Zeket Amorn. Vandu Madnu, Shogel the Rav Shmuel. Yelamdei Rabbeinu, the cost of Ezekiel, the Rishon, in Vekonim Yodemai. He did a Kinyan in Ezekiel, the first one did a Kinyan. Shalach Kevach Ezekiel Loi, Vekonim Inei Kona. Ve'en Yochol Achzor Madnato, the Kosh Kol Lakros Lacher. Once you hit to one, you can't change your mind. In other words, that's what they sent for Be'er after Shmuel, and Shmuel agrees. And according to this gear, so Shmuel is not arguing about. Shmuel agrees when you have a zikui, then it changes. Okay, so says the Gemara, that's maybe only to give to somebody else. But maybe for himself, he could change his mind. You don't say once he did Kinyan, it's over. Came Rav Huna Mikufra and explained it. Bein la'atzvoi, bein la'acherim. It doesn't matter if it's la'atzvoi la'acherim, once he did the kinyan is over. Now, I think it's kedai, just we have a few minutes, just to see a little bit the part of the Rashban that we skipped. Because, again, what's going on over here? Shaila is, what is Gemara changing? So the explanation the Rashbam stays with is we change the last part. You do a zikui, does it make a difference or not? So the Gemara in the beginning brought him a machlekes Rav Shmuel. In the second case it says, no, there's no machlekes. Everybody agrees when you do a zikui, it belongs to the first one. How is that different than the beginning of our sugya? So go back a second to the Rashbam. The Rashbam says, someone wanted to say that this part of the Gemara is changing the first case that we had. So let's go again at the beginning of the Rashbam. The first machlokes that we had. However, with this one nohachi, they're changing the first. There won't be a steer Rav Shmuel. The Hashtanami Moed Shmuel, the Mace have a kinyan. The kinyan missed Davido. If he dies, it doesn't work. Filam Mil says the Rashbam. The Hashtanami Kashak Davido. To have a koma in Lacha kinyan klum. Bin Lacha bin Latzmoin. According to what we learn right now, once you do a kinyan, you can't change your mind. Hafilu Omadin Rechol Aksaboy. Uleilo Maravido Mashmuel. Ve'adu Shoy kinyan Machas Miso. Ve'chol Aksaboy. We learned earlier in the beginning of the Amud base that you could change your mind if it was Achamiso. So that's what the Rashbam says. In other words, the Gemara now wants to come and say, and that's what we're going to get to in a moment, just to read the summary of the whole thing in the Rashbam, is that there is different kinyanim. There is a kinyan without a zikr. And then we say the kinyan is only machas mi, so he can change his mind. But then there's a zikr, you reinforce the kinyan, and then that kinyan works, ben latz or ben lach. We'll see one more line in the Gemara, and then we'll see the summary in the Rashbam, and this will end. Says the Gemara, how did Konumine? Someone did a kinyan, right? They did a kinyan. In other words, according to Rashbam, they did a kinyan with a zikui, we did a reinforcement. Also, right? In other words, he wanted to change his mind. Says you can't change your mind because if you do a kinyan like a regular shemira, gesundheit, but you're doing a reinforcement. Reinforcement can't change your mind, as we just learned right now. You can't change your mind. So that's what he says. Now, let's see the Rashbam. The Rashbam, on the right side, is the Makruinchi. The Rashbam goes a few lines down. The end of the line is with the word V'hashto. He's going to summarize what we learned in this sukkah. V'hashto sheminon midalid mili dom Shmuel. He says Midalid, they fix on the side, hey mili. The 5 things that we saw in Shmuel, we find B'shmaitim. The kind look of a similar, we go with Shmuel. Says Rashbam, so what do we learn based on Shmuel? So Rashbam as follows. Mata shchimira bedeloi shir sheyesh b'kinyon beloi zikot ashtar. Right, so you have mata shchimira, a full mata shchimira. He gave everything he owns, and there is a kinyan. That's how we start our case. He did a kinyan, but he did not do zikut. He didn't give him the shtar. Lo yadana ma'edun bo. That's the first case in Amud Aleph. I don't know what to do with that. Because in one hand you have Mata Shchimira, but in the other hand you have a kinyan. So I don't know. That's what Shmuel said in the beginning. The Mekabel can't take it. The Shema maybe you want to do only with the shtar. So that's case number 1. He gave it to it with a kinyan. So you can be mad, you can start with that before that. Mata Shchimira, you give the whole thing, and you didn't do a kinyan. That's our Mishnah. The Mishnah is, they can change his mind. Once he heals, he can change his mind. It's Mata Shchimira. But if you do a kinyan, you put a wrench into it, you confuse the issue, we don't know what he meant. He meant to do it only after Misa. Now Mata Shchimira does not work. But now, if he did Yipur Koyach, Avlim Yipur Koyachoi, meaning he added to the kinyan, Yipur Koyach, which means he gave the shtar to the person. Or according to Taisus, he did a kinyan by a third party. Then the guy gets it. Which guy? The first one. You don't say they meant to do only later. Sorry, I skipped one stage. Over here is that he said he wrote the words in the shtar. He wrote in the shtar, I'm doing Yipur Koyach. I'm adding a kinyan as an additional re-incentive. Not only giving the shtar, But I also do a kinyan in addition, not in exchange of the Matashchimra, but in addition. So then he's giving it a strength, and then he gets it. But who should be said that only works if the giver dies. If he got up, he's chayzer. Why? That's what we saw in the beginning of the base. That's what we saw in the beginning of the base. Case 3. Says write a star to somebody who dies. So you do it. How I can't give him a star. Can't do a star to miso. He did a zikui. He had an additional kinyan. So then you go to the second one, not the first one. That's if he died. If you get somebody's chayzer. So even when you don't need when you don't add the words you just give the star to the person, he always changes his mind. He goes sheni nami kono doli when becomes. So the second one loses. Aval im kosa v'zika v'kna kama shvu de kono kamel legami bilhatzu bilachev im omad eino chayzer. So the last two cases of the Shvam is kosa v'zika shtar lemoisroi, kosa v'zika v'hikno. Oh, so here is the thing. And this is where we see the end of the sugya, and with this, to come to conclusion. The way the Rashbam learns is, we don't have here a difference between Pumbedisa and Surah in terms of machlekes. It's not machlekes. There's two different cases over here. There is a case that the person he wrote a star and gave it. Then Shmuel says it's still about the shkira, and the second one is the one who gets it. But if he wrote the star, gave it to him, and did a kinyan, right? He did that, he did also a kinyan. And so he gave him the star and gave him the kinyan, he did all of his powers, then he gives to the first one. So it comes out like this, the sikum, the summary of the whole thing. If he would give a regular Mata Shchimera, so then regular Mata Shchimera, he gave the whole thing, he can change his mind if he got up. If he didn't give the whole thing, he can't. If you did a Mata Shchimera and you have a kinyan, it's a problem, because I don't know what is he doing. The Shmuel is getting stuck. If he did a star and he wrote the words Miyapes Koichle, so then it's great, and it's empowering him. If he wrote the star and gave the star to the guy, so then it's about the Shchimera, that works, and you don't say it's confusing, but it's still about the Shchimera, that the second one overrides the first one. And then, if he had the Shchimera, and he gave it to him, and also did a kinyan, he did all three, so then it's a full matana that's chal right away, that the first one gets it. So these are all the details that we learned Beis Shmuel in this daf, and Beis Hashem will start from here, and the next daf will be later this afternoon. Kol Torah, I say.